How the hard worker identity forms. Before we continue, you need to understand the soil this identity grew in. None of us invented hard worker alone. We were trained. Early signals taught us that effort equals goodness and output equals belonging. At school, gold stars, grades, and perfect attendance weren't just feedback, they were social currency. Do more, get praised. Slow down, get side-eyed. Your brain loves predictable loops, so it wired this: perform, then you're safe. That circuit upgraded in adulthood. Performance reviews, dashboards, and always-on tools turned effort into a scoreboard. Hours and heroics became the proof. At first, the praise feels great. Then identity narrows around the thing that gets applause. The thing most people miss is how specificity compresses identity. If the compliments land only on grinding, you're so dedicated. You're a machine. Curiosity starts shrinking. Experiments feel risky because misses threaten the brand you've built. Once proving shows up, exploration drops. You pick tasks you can brute force, not ones that would grow your range. Risk tolerance falls, novelty feels dangerous, and you swap learn for look good. Now your nervous system pairs output with safety. I'm okay when I'm producing. That association is powerful because it lowers anxiety until normal human variability hits. Bodies get tired, projects stall, kids get sick, markets wobble. Variability is normal. A narrow identity can't absorb it. Here's where it gets sticky. Identities are like containers. Broad containers, learner, friend, maker, hold dense without cracking. Narrow containers, hard worker, have thin walls. A late start or a missed deadline can feel like a fracture. Your brain reads schedule drift as an identity threat, not a practical problem. When identity is on trial, the system flips into policing, not coaching. Shame floods the channel, curiosity collapses, and you either hide or overprove. Let me ground this with a quick story. Early in her career, a client stayed late once and got public praise. That one moment turned into a pattern, then a brand. Late hero. Promotions followed, but so did anxiety about leaving at 5. Weekends felt morally risky. Creativity dipped because every task became an exam. When a family emergency demanded space, she couldn't keep the tempo. Shame spiked, avoidance crept in, then overcorrection marathons, and the loop tightened. Not because she was weak, but because the container was brittle. There's reinforcement at 3 levels. Socially, we reward volume more than learning. You crushed it lands louder than you designed it well. Organizationally, metrics track what's countable: emails, tickets, hours, not the invisible skills that make work sustainable. Internally, your nervous system logs relief when output earns approval. Relief feels like safety, so your brain chases the cue, produce to exhale. Over time, the cue chain becomes automatic. Now here's where most people mess up. They try to fix the brittleness by doubling down on discipline. I'll never miss again. That makes the container thinner. You're adding glass to glass. The game changer is diversification. Add identity points that aren't tied to output. Values you enact daily, relationships you tend, skills you practice regardless of outcome. This isn't permission to drift. It's widening the walls so normal dips don't feel like collapse. A micro practice that works: track values in action alongside tasks. Generosity, sent a 5-line thank you. Curiosity, asked one naive question. Responsibility, set a clean stop. Within a month, you'll feel sturdier because your ledger isn't only work-shaped. Same job, broader container. Let me back up and name the cultural script so you can see it. We live in an environment saturated with control cues, surveillance metrics, instant comparisons, visible likes, and scarcity narratives. Fall behind and you're done. In that climate, hard worker isn't just a preference, it's armor. Armor worked when you were small and approval was your ticket to safety. As an adult, the same armor becomes weight. You move slower, avoid hits, and forget you can choose the fight. There's also a family layer many of us inherit. Maybe love felt conditional, good grades, extra chores, never complain, and effort bought calm in the house. Your nervous system learned to read other people's regulation as your job. Fast forward, and you're still managing everyone else's discomfort by overproducing. Saying no feels like dropping a plate. Rest feels suspicious. Before we continue, you need to hear this. You're not broken, you're trained. Your brain did what brains do: pair behavior with safety. The fix is not to prove harder, it's to feed different signals. Autonomy says I choose. Competence says I moved the ball. Relatedness says I belong even when I pause. Those 3 needs stabilize motivation when the day wobbles. That's why our reframe and micro choices feel like relief. They start widening the container. Common pitfalls to watch for as you begin: equating boundaries with laziness, confusing learning reps with low stakes, and treating praise detox like isolation. Boundaries are design, not defection. Learning reps are how competence grows. And you don't have to go praise-free, you just move your anchor from applause to alignment. If you remember nothing else here, remember this: a narrow identity breaks under normal variability. Widen the walls by adding identity points you control daily, so your worth isn't riding on a scoreboard. Then autonomy, competence, and safety can do their job when the next wobble hits. Mechanism Part 2, the shame cycle explained. Now that the container is clear, let's map the loop that hijacks your day. It starts with a tiny trigger, a miss, a slowdown, or a comparison. You plan to start at 9, it's 9:27. A teammate pings, per my last email. Your brain doesn't read minor delay. It reads threat. In shame research, think Brené Brown, guilt says I did something bad, shame says I am bad. When identity gets tagged, options narrow. Interpretation snaps in fast. With a hard worker identity, the story becomes, if I'm not producing, I'm not worthy. That's not planning, that's self-protection. The thinking brain dims, the alarm circuitry lights up. Now your body shifts state, heat in your face, tight chest, restless fingers. You tunnel, your attention hunts for relief. Relief usually takes two forms: numbing or proving. Numbing looks like micro escapes, scrolling, snacks, inbox pings disguised as just staying on top of it. It buys 2 minutes of quiet and hands you more shame. Now I'm behind and weak. Proving looks like overcorrection, marathon sessions, penance promises, early alarms you won't keep. It spikes output briefly, then piles recovery debt and errors. Both moves are expensive because neither improves the system that created the spike. The reason this loop sticks is that shame collapses curiosity. You stop asking, what made starting hard? And shift to courtroom questions. What's wrong with me? Courtroom questions only generate punishments. Punishment burns energy without building skill. Meanwhile, physiological arousal rises, you feel urgent, but urgency rarely produces better plans. You prove or you hide, and both keep the identity trial running. Let me show you a normal day sequence. Trigger, your meeting runs long, you lose your prime focus block. Interpretation, I can't protect my time, I'm sloppy. State shift, jaw clenches, breath goes shallow. Numbing, I'll check Slack, then email, then a quick news glance. 40 minutes disappear. Guilt stacks on shame. Overcorrection, no lunch, power through until 6. By 3 p.m., energy crashes, the task rolls to tomorrow with a bigger stake attached. Loop tightens. Now here's where most people mess up. They argue with the feeling, I shouldn't be this sensitive, I just need to toughen up. That keeps you in the courtroom. Or they deny the miss, stack more tasks, pretend the day didn't wobble. That teaches your brain you can't be trusted with reality. Both add load. Instead, run the 3 N's: name, normalize, neutralize. Name the state, this is a shame spike. Labeling shifts it from identity to a temporary condition. Normalize, misses happen, they're data. Variability is normal in any system. Neutralize, a tiny, chosen behavior that moves the task forward and restores agency. 2 minutes, one micro choice, like opening the doc and typing 3 bullets. You just fed autonomy and competence in the exact moment they collapsed. Micro story, a client missed 2 mornings in a row. Old pattern, YouTube binge, vow a heroic night, crash, wake guilty. Day 3, the shame hit at 9:12. She named it out loud. Normalized, I planned poorly yesterday. Neutralized, opened the slide deck, pasted 3 quotes. 2 minutes later, the surge dropped. By 9:25, she was in a 20-minute sprint. Not a perfect day, a stable one. Before we continue, see the overcorrection booby trap. It looks like discipline, but it's bargaining. If I suffer enough, I can buy my worth back. That ties worth tighter to output and guarantees more spikes. The antidote is pre-deciding failure scripts so identity never gets the bill. For example, if I miss a start, I have scope and begin within 5 minutes. That turns wobble into a route. Common mistakes to avoid. Turning naming into ruminating. One label, then action. Don't write a thesis on your shame. Confusing normalize with minimize. We're not excusing patterns, we're removing moral drama so you can change them. Neutralizing with punishment. I'll skip lunch is debt, not progress. Pick a 2-minute step that touches the task. Let's link this back to your needs. In self-determination theory, autonomy and competence stabilize motivation. Shame knocks both offline. Naming and normalizing lower the identity stake. The tiny action restores choice and progress. Physiologically, a small win reduces threat and widens attention. You move from alarm to design. Here's a 30-second drill you can keep on a sticky. Name shame spike. Normalize misses our data. Neutralize open doc, write 3 bullets, or put on shoes 10 squats or 2 emails only, 3-minute timer. Run it immediately. If you stall, your step is still too big, cut it in half. One more micro story. A manager lost her focus block to a surprise fire drill meeting. Old loop, add 3 tasks to prove she's back on track, ping 2 people at 10 p.m., sleep badly. New loop, 3 ends, then a pre-written failure script, have scope, keep the stop. She wrote a 1-page outline instead of a full draft and kept her 3 p.m. walk. The project shipped on Thursday with fewer errors, and the shame never got paid. If you remember nothing else, shame is a state, not a verdict. Name it, normalize variability, neutralize with a chosen 2-minute move. That's how you stop paying with identity and start paying with design. Mechanism Part 3, the psychological cost. Now the bill shows up. When worth fuses to output, intrinsic motivation erodes. Work stops being "I'm curious" and becomes "I'm on trial." Even when you finish, you get relief, not satisfaction. Relief quiets the alarm but doesn't refill the tank, so you need the next case to feel okay. In self-determination theory terms, chronic control cues, pressure, surveillance, contingency, thwart autonomy and competence, so the engine runs hot and brittle. The next cost is distorted competence. When shame runs the scoreboard, only flawless wins count. Micro wins don't register. Opening the file, sketching a rough outline, asking one clarifying question. You call those not real work, so the learning curve stays invisible. Without recorded reps, your nervous system never sees progress, so it withholds motivation. Then the emptiness feels like laziness, which becomes more shame. That's how the blind spot amplifies itself. Meanwhile, your body pays allostatic load, the cumulative wear from chronic stress. Each time a normal wobble becomes a worth threat, stress chemistry spikes. Over weeks, your baseline ratchets up. Sleep gets lighter, digestion gets weird, headaches visit more often. You can still function, but you're operating in a narrow tunnel. That tunnel makes everything feel urgent and personal, so your identity fuses tighter to performance even as energy drops. It's a loop. Physiology narrows attention. Narrowed attention reads more threat. Threat reinforces the hard worker identity. Decision fatigue piles on. If every choice is a referendum on goodness, your planning brain burns out by noon. Start now or after email. If I move this, am I weak? 10 tiny trials, and you've got no executive function left for the thing that matters. What follows is either micro-avoidance or grand, unsustainable promises. Neither fixes the system, both deepen the debt. There's also the social tab. Relationships turn into performance theaters. You choose friends who validate the grind, feel uneasy around people who rest without apology, and default to "I've got it" to look reliable. Then you resent the invisible load. At home, you're physically present but mentally rehearsing proofs. Loved ones feel the distance. Shame hates being seen, so you hide in productivity, which looks virtuous while it fuels loneliness. You might be thinking, but pressure gets me moving. Acute pressure can spark action. Chronic pressure corrodes curiosity. Curiosity is the engine of sustainable effort. It lets you tolerate boredom, run experiments, and notice small improvements. Shame collapses curiosity, so you rely on adrenaline spikes and last-minute rescues. That can look heroic, but it prevents stable skill building. You become great at emergencies and bad at quiet progress. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. Competence is a ledger of reps, not a vibe. If you only record impressive outcomes, your ledger stays empty and your system never relaxes. Tracking tiny, visible actions is not cute, it's learning science. You're giving your brain evidence that effort maps to progress, which lowers perceived threat and reopens intrinsic motivation. Without that, you'll mistake adrenaline for drive and call burnout high standards. Another cost is opportunity shrinkage. When failure equals unworthiness, you avoid asymmetric bets, the ones with small downside and big learning upside, because even a small miss feels lethal. Your world narrows. You pick tasks you can grind, not ones that would grow your range. You start saying, "I'm just not the kind of person who," when the truth is, "I can't tolerate being new at this." Career paths flat. creativity withers under the weight of certainty. Let me ground this with a composite story. A manager ran on prove mode for years, overcommitted days, skipped lunches, 10 p.m. emails. Inside, she tracked a private scoreboard that never showed green. We introduced autonomy inches, 1 lever per task, and a win ledger, 3 action lines nightly. 2 weeks in, sleep steadied. 3 weeks in, she kept a weekly walk with a friend. 6 weeks in, she delegated a project without the panic that exposure would equal worth collapse. Same role, less identity tax, more room to care again. The thing most people miss is that these costs stack silently. You don't notice identity collapse on day one. You notice it when normal dips start feeling catastrophic. The fix isn't bigger goals or harsher rules. It's feeding the needs that stabilize motivation and physiology, autonomy and competence, plus practical safety. Autonomy turns tasks from threats into choices. Competence turns actions into proof. Safety, the ability to stop without bargaining, keeps effort from becoming an identity gamble. Give yourself a quick self-check. Do wins feel like brief relief more than quiet pride? Do you discount small actions as not real work? Do minor schedule slips feel moral? Do you need adrenaline to start? Do relationships get your leftovers? If you nodded at 3, the cost is already due. The good news, the same mechanisms that created the debt can unwind it. 1 inch of choice per task, 1 visible action logged, 1 protected stop. Those moves lower threat, broaden attention, and make tomorrow's start cheaper. If you remember nothing else here, remember this. The price of tying worth to output is paid in curiosity, energy, decisions, and connection. Reinvest daily in autonomy and competence, and the nervous system stops charging interest. Now we'll turn that into a daily system that stabilizes you even on messy days. Why this works, how autonomy, competence, and safety break the shame cycle.